Hi, this is Steve. I made a couple of feather boards, and when I was researching them I noticed a lot of them that are for sale have two on top of each other, or you could use one at a time. So if you had a thicker board you do two on top of each other, and this is right now is two 3/4 inch oak boards on top of each other, and I can, if I want, take these knobs off and take this one off and then just have one. So this is a 3-inch bolt, and it was long enough to go through the two 3/4 inch pieces of oak plus the little miter slot piece, and then enough left over for the knob to go on. So I made this kind of a standard one at a 60-degree angle, and I guess it's maybe 4 inches wide or so. These fingers are 1/8 inch thick with a 1/8 inch cut for the saw blade, so it's just even spacing there. And then I just cut 2 slots with the router. I need a little more practice at that, I found out. So I made one like this, a standard one that gets close up to the blade. Actually, you want to put it back from if this is the blade, you want to put it back from the blade so that it doesn't push the wood into the blade once the cut starts. But this always stays fairly close because the miter slot's about that far away. And I made another one that's a little different design, and it allows for a wider piece of that you're going to be ripping off because the fingers are a little back with the slots. And this one I made and didn't leave enough wood here, I found out. And it was all kind of wobbly and it cracked. So I glued it back together and then glued a straight piece of oak across the bottom with the grain this way, which gave it back its strength, and now it's strong again. So the grain on this piece goes this way with the fingers so that the fingers won't break off. And then just this one piece that's like 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch goes, the grain's that way, and I just glued that. Same thing, it's 2 pieces, 3/4 of an inch thick, and one comes off, so if I have a thicker piece of wood I can do 2 at a time if I want to get a little more thickness. I'll show you some close-ups of these, so hang on, let me switch around. This is the first standard featherboard I made. When you set it, you want to make sure it's a little in front of the saw blade so that it's not pushing the wood into the blade, and which will cause kickback, so you want it a little back. These knobs turned out pretty nice. There's some links from where I got them on Amazon below. What's nice is you don't have to clamp these down too hard before it locks in place, and it's very sturdy at that point. One thing I found out when you get ready to cut these, or drill the holes in this miter piece down below for the 2 bolts coming up, make sure you have this, when you mark it, tilted like it's going to be towards the saw, because I accidentally had it straight like that, and then the holes turn out to be too close together. And that didn't work. To make this miter slot piece, I routed a little, with a flush trim bit, a little groove in a piece of wood, and then ripped it in half and took the halves that had the groove in it here and glued them together so the groove was like that. And so there's about 1 inch with no groove on each side to hold them together. So I just drilled those holes, 1/4 inch for the bolts, and then countersunk an area for the bolts to sink down in there to hold that. So the board was kind of like this, and if it was this long, then I got the flush trim bit with the router and went like from here to about to there, and then you rip that in half and take the 2 pieces and go like that with it and glue it together. This other design, the fingers are more in line with the slots here, so that I have more room for a wider piece when I'm ripping a wider piece and still have a featherboard. So it's just a little different design. You either need to leave a little more room back here, like a couple more inches I guess, so that it won't split, or you can do like I did and add a separate piece and glue it on to give it the strength back. So it turned out pretty nice. I like them, and we'll see how they work. I've got 2 more projects I'll be working on soon. The under the table router dust box with some drawers and little slots for storage all underneath the table saw. And then my new workbench I'll be starting to cut soon, and I'll be sharing those videos too. So subscribe if you'd like to see those. Thanks a lot.